รายการต่อไปนี้เป็นรายการทั่วไปสามารถรับชมได้ทุกวัย
สนับสนุนโดยแลกเงินด้วยบัตรเครดิตกสิกรไทยเที่ยวก่อนจ่ายทีหลังไม่มีค่าธรรมเนียมผ่อนชำระได้จากธนาคารกสิกรไทย
สวัสดีค่ะมองเรามองโลกวันนี้พาท่านผู้ชมมาดูตึกเก่าอันสวยงามของประเทศสิงคโปร์ที่ถึงแม้ว่าทุกวันนี้จะมีการเปลี่ยนแปลงการใช้ประโยชน์ของพื้นที่แต่ก็ยังคงรักษาเสน่ห์และคุณค่าของอาคารเหล่านั้นไว้ค่ะสิงคโปร์มีย่านอนุรักษ์ตึกเก่าอยู่หลายแห่งไม่ว่าจะเป็นย่านกัมปงแกรม Little India Chinatown เตียงบารูหรือจูเชียตตึกเก่าเหล่านี้คงไว้ซึ่งความงดงามทางสถาปัตยกรรมในอดีตแต่ก็มีการดัดแปลงพื้นที่ภายในเพื่อประโยชน์ใช้สอยใหม่ตามยุคสมัยไม่ว่าจะเป็นร้านขายของเก๋ๆคาเฟ่ร้านอาหารหรือโรงแรมสไตล์บูติกเป็นต้น The Working Capital เป็นหนึ่งในอาคารเก่าแก่ที่ถูกดัดแปลงเพื่อการใช้งานใหม่โดยยังคงความสวยงามของสถาปัตยกรรมดั้งเดิมไว้ได้อย่างคลาสสิกค่ะอาคารหลังที่ท่านผู้ชมเห็นอยู่นี้เป็นอาคารเก่าแก่หน้าตาก็บอกนะคะเมื่อก่อนเป็นโรงงานทำบิสกิตแต่ทุกวันนี้ภายนอกอาคารมีการเก็บรักษาเอาไว้แต่ภายในมีการปรับเปลี่ยนการใช้พื้นที่ได้อย่างน่าสนใจค่ะเปิดประตูเข้ามาด้านในหน้าตาเป็นแบบนี้ค่ะดูคนละอารมณ์กับข้างนอกเลยนะคะมีการตกแต่งที่สวยงามทันสมัยแล้วก็น่านั่งมากๆใช่ค่ะที่นี่ถูกดัดแปลงให้เป็นร้านกาแฟส่วนด้านบนล่ะคะถูกดัดแปลงเป็นอะไรเอ่ยไปดูกันค่ะเดินขึ้นมาชั้น2นะคะก็จะเจอกับโต๊ะ reception ก่อนเลยเดินต่อไปอีกนะคะก็จะเห็นว่ามีการซอยห้องออกเป็นห้องย่อยเขียนว่า meeting room หรือว่าห้องประชุมมีโต๊ะมีเก้าอี้มีโซฟาแล้วก็มีคนนั่งทำงานหน้าคอมพิวเตอร์ขึ้นมาอีกชั้นหนึ่งนี่มีล็อกเกอร์ให้ด้วยนะคะตรงนี้ขึ้นมาอีกชั้นก็ยังเห็นโต๊ะและเก้าอี้เต็มไปหมดเลยแล้วก็มีคนนั่งทำงานนะคะทายออกหรือยังเอ่ยว่าถูกดัดแปลงเป็นอะไรเป็น co-working space ค่ะหรือว่าพื้นที่ที่ใช้ทำงานร่วมกันค่ะThe Working Capital เป็น Co-working Space ที่มีเอกลักษณ์โดดเด่นไม่เหมือนใครเนื่องจากภายนอกเป็นอาคารเก่าแก่ที่มีอายุเกือบ100ปีแต่ภายในมีการตกแต่งที่สวยงามทันสมัยมีการแบ่งพื้นที่เป็นโซนต่างๆให้คนได้เช่านั่งทำงานทั้งแบบรายบุคคลหรือเป็นกลุ่มบริษัทเล็กๆมีทั้งห้องประชุมพื้นที่ทานอาหารพื้นที่นั่งพักผ่อนรวมถึงเป็นสถานที่จัดงานอีเวนต์ต่างๆด้วยBen, what's the history of this building?
So this, from what I understand, the original usage of this building was a biscuit factory in circa like 1920s. When we took it over, which was a couple of years ago now, it was being used by AIA Insurance to house about 500 employees. And they had very conventional office space. In between the biscuit factory to now, I understand it was also used as a tenement building, so you had people living in here.
Where did the idea of doing a co-working space in an old building come from?
Our other business has always dealt in shop houses, some conservation, some non-conservation. But it's been more traditional usage, so residential, maybe a commercial component upstairs. We wanted to do a concept which was more kind of multi-dimensional and had a few more kind of elements, but not necessarily in a shop house. But when we came across this property, we just thought it was beautiful. So it just kind of happened at the right time. I mean, weren't necessarily ready to go into hotels, and I mean, accommodation is something that you could tie into a concept like that, but the zoning also has to allow for it. But the zoning, they weren't giving any more hotel licenses for this area. So for the underlying usage is commercial, and something geared towards the work environment was suitable.
แม้ว่าสิงคโปร์จะอนุญาตให้มีการปรับเปลี่ยนพื้นที่ใช้สอยของอาคารเก่าที่ได้รับการอนุรักษ์แต่กฎเกณฑ์สำคัญคือจะต้องดูแลให้ด้านนอกตัวอาคารคงรูปแบบสถาปัตยกรรมดั้งเดิมไว้ให้มากที่สุด What is the guideline for conservation? You must preserve the outside, but inside you can do anything. Is that how it is?
I mean, it's definitely stricter on the facade than it is inside, but there's still a lot of things you need to adhere to within the property. Any penetrations to the building, like these skylights, for example, have to go through a lengthy kind of process. So the building, we're in one of the strictest kind of conservation districts. So there are different categories of conservation, but facade treatment is definitely the strictest, because I guess that's what's the most obvious from outside. But it's even conserved from bird's eye view from the top. So, like for example, the skylights, you can only open them up to a certain percentage of the roof.
So for the facade of the building, what have been done?
For the facade of the building, I mean, we just tried to accent or kind of bring out the architectural features that were already there and bring it back to a simple kind of color combination. I mean, the building itself is just beautiful the way it is. The facade is where we really did the least. It was more about painting, a bit of restoration.
What are the renovations done on the inside of this building?
We did a major overhaul. So we did a complete redesign. Downstairs, we subdivided the space into 4 restaurants, and we had to bring in all the M&E to kind of support the F&B services, so the grease traps, the exhausts. Had to redo all the air conditioning systems throughout. There was a lot of water treatment. This is a timber flooring, so that has its own issues from a sound standpoint, as well as fire safety, as well as water. So these conservation buildings definitely come with their own sets of issues, which typically make them more expensive to maintain than a newer building, but they also have a charm that you can't find in a conventional building.
What's the feedback in general after all the renovations?
Feedback in general has been good. People respond well to the space. They like the fact that we've brought in so much natural light, that the color code, it's not a serious environment. We want to just lighten it up a bit with the color schemes and things of that nature. And they also like the fact that you have different kind of zones, right? So depending on the kind of work you're working on at the moment, you can go into a quieter area or more collaborative area or meet, so the space lends itself to different kind of uses.
I'm wearing a t-shirt and jeans. I kind of work in a t-shirt and jeans, right? But I'm walking into this grand old building, so there's kind of a dignified air about it. But I don't think I would actually want to work in like an old colonial building. It's a little bit stuffy and formal on the inside, so it's a nice compromise.
What do you think about Singapore's guidelines and policies in conserving old buildings?
I think it's good that they have them. It's definitely I think, an important part of Singapore's history. And I think they're doing what they can to conserve buildings like this, which is important. From what I think the guidelines were instated, I think either in the 70s or the 80s, but from what I understand, a lot of beautiful heritage buildings were torn down prior to that to make way for development and urban planning. I think as a result, people are more conscious of historically significant buildings that need to be preserved.
Do you think people will appreciate and maybe cherish heritage and history of the place more with conservation of old buildings?
Definitely. I think, generally speaking, like things are changing so fast, and so, you try and hold on to whatever is, has meaning, right? So I think there's more importance on that now because, so much was lost in the name of progress, right?
จากภายนอกตึกแถว4คูหาทรงโบราณแห่งนี้ก็หน้าตาเหมือนตึกแถวอื่นๆในย่านไชน่าทาวน์แต่ข้างในสิคะเก๋ไก๋ไม่เหมือนใครที่นี่คือโรงแรม New Majestic ค่ะโรงแรม New Majestic เป็นโรงแรมสไตล์บูติกที่ดัดแปลงมาจากตึกแถวสไตล์อาร์ตเดโคอายุเกือบ100ปีย่านไชน่าทาวน์แต่ก่อนบริเวณนี้เป็นย่านที่อยู่ของเหล่าภรรยาลับของเศรษฐีในยุคนั้นโรงแรม New Majestic ได้รับรางวัลอนุรักษ์อาคารเก่าแก่ดีเด่นประจำปี 2006 จาก URA ซึ่งเป็นหน่วยงานดูแลด้านการวางแผนอนุรักษ์และออกแบบผังเมืองของสิงคโปร์ Peng, where did the idea to do a hotel in an old building come from?
I think, at the start when I was doing my very first hotel in 1929, it was not very common for people to do unusual design type hotels in these old buildings. People thought it was very difficult. But actually, when I first did my hotel, I thought this is an ideal place because I liked the old buildings and I thought that they converted very well to design type hotels. And so it was so well received that this is my second hotel. I did it very soon after.
And why did you pick this particular spot?
I think for me it was just because the area was full of very vibrant kind of local life. The nice thing about being in an old building like this is actually the neighborhood is also very old. And so it feels very local, it's very different, When you go to Orchard Road in Singapore, actually you could be anywhere in the world.
New Majestic Hotel, so the name, where does it come from?
Well, there's been a Majestic Hotel here since the 1920s. So actually it's one of the oldest continually operating hotels in Singapore. And so when we took it over, it was called the Majestic. And when we converted it, we named it the New Majestic. So in a sense, I guess we were just looking to preserve the history of the building by calling it the New Majestic.
Are there any rules which color you can use or cannot use outside on the facade of the building?
I think the Urban Redevelopment Authority in Singapore wants these buildings to have a sympathetic color. And when I say that, I mean it should be colors that are sort of pastel and colors that would be part of the original type of range of colors that would have used. For me, I like the character of the old building, so I chose a color that I thought was in keeping with what the original shade might have been, which is a pastel kind of green,
What about the facade, the structure? Did you do any changes to that?
We restored it, So, for example, some of the windows were broken, some of the old window frames were deteriorated and rotted, and so we replaced them or restored it. But other than that, it was just a restoration. We didn't try and do anything too crazy to the building.
จากภายนอกที่มีความสวยงามในแบบอาคารเก่าภายในโรงแรม New Majestic ก็น่าสนใจไม่แพ้กันเต็มไปด้วยดีไซน์ที่เก๋ไก๋สนุกสนานโดยเฉพาะอย่างยิ่งเมื่อดีไซน์ใหม่ๆผสมผสานกับโครงสร้างเก่าอย่างเช่นเพดานเดิมที่ยังคงไว้แบบดิบๆทำให้โรงแรมยิ่งมีเสน่ห์ไม่เหมือนใครเลยค่ะ How worn down is this place when you first bought it?
Well, when we first got it, I think the building itself had not really been well looked after for a number of years. So Actually, a lot of there were leaks around the place, you know, a lot of cracks, a lot of the structure wasn't in good condition. And just generally, some windows had not been replaced, so the water was coming in, things like. So it wasn't terrible, but it was not in good condition, and it was something that we felt that we had to upgrade the building to bring it up to a good standard. Yeah.
And these ceilings, this is the original one.
These are the original ceilings. So when we took down the false ceilings, we saw that actually the original ceiling is there. It was obviously quite interesting, the textures, and I quite like the look of it because it really gives you an idea of what the original building looked like, and also the age of the building. You get a true sense of how old the building is by looking at this ceiling.
But of course, you tear down all the walls.
Yeah, internal walls, yes.
Internal walls to make space.
To make space, also to just open up. Because originally this building would not have been enclosed into small rooms. There was a restaurant here, but when we bought the building, the restaurant had closed down, and it was a very famous restaurant in the old days. And in its place were little rooms. There was a karaoke downstairs, and upstairs were these little cubicle rooms, you know. And so I thought it would be better to just tear all the modern additions away and bring back the original fabric of the building.
It sounds like a lot of effort to renovate old buildings.
Yes.
Is it worth it? Maybe it's easier to start from scratch somewhere.
Actually, it's always easier to start from scratch with a new building than to restore an old building. But I think a new building doesn't have the same character. It doesn't have the same kind of feeling of history that an old building has.
This is the famous Majestic restaurant, which has always been here, right?
Yes. I think this restaurant was famous actually in the 50s and 60s. It was a very well-known restaurant all the way up to the 80s. When we took over the restaurant, we bought over the building, the restaurant had already been closed. So we revived the old Majestic restaurant, which was very famous in my parents' day. My grandparents, my parents used to come here all the time. So I thought it was important that we keep the heritage and the history of the restaurant. And so we reopened it.
What are these though?
These are portholes, and above that is the swimming pool. So, you know, I think what we were trying to do is do something with a little bit of drama, and also to bring some natural light into the back of the building.
So if someone is swimming up there and then someone eating down here and look up,
yeah, you see
can say hi.
Yeah, you can see. Well, you can wave to them. They can't hear you, but you can certainly see them swimming. So sometimes when you're having lunch, you'll see people swimming back and forth. Yeah.
Huh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's fun.
What is this area used to be?
This, in the old days when the building was first built, would have been an air well. And basically it would have been configured such that you basically had a big open space all the way to downstairs, so that maybe there's a kitchen downstairs and all the, you know, the exhaust and smoke would go up. So typically in the old days this just would have just been an open area, and it wouldn't have been that useful for people to use. And when we took over the building, there was just a tin roof over here. So we built the swimming pool.
The swimming pool that can look down into
yes, that's right.
the restaurant.
That's right.
นอกจากความงามของตัวอาคารที่เป็นตึกเก่าอายุเกือบ100 ปีแล้วโรงแรม New Majestic โดดเด่นอย่างมากในเรื่องของดีไซน์ห้องพักจำนวน30ห้องมีการออกแบบที่แตกต่างกันไปตามรูปทรงและขนาดของห้องโดยมีบรรดาศิลปินดาวรุ่งของสิงคโปร์มาสร้างสรรค์งานศิลปะให้แต่ละห้องมีเอกลักษณ์ไม่ซ้ำกันเลยสักห้องค่ะเริ่มจากห้อง Sakura Virgin Snow ออกแบบโดยศิลปินลีเหมยหลิงซึ่งใช้วัสดุผสมในการสร้างบรรยากาศสไตล์ญี่ปุ่นที่สดใสสวยงาม
Since you cannot do anything much about the structure of the building, then you have to design each room according to the structure of that building. Is that very difficult?
I think it is very difficult because you have to be kind of working within the envelope of what you have rather than starting from a clean sheet. So it is a bit more difficult, but at the same time it presents a nice opportunity for you to do interesting spaces because in some ways having those restrictions means you think a little bit harder about how you configure the spaces. It also means that no two spaces are the same because in an old building like this, you don't have right angles. Every floor plate is slightly different. The floor levels, so you end up with 30 different rooms in a hotel like this. And to me, that's quite exciting. That's quite fun.
Like this room, we can see that the ceiling is somehow slanted.
Yes.
This is the original.
Yeah,
you can do nothing about that at all.
About it.
But then the design, you can do something about that.
Yes.
And so we walk into the room, and the first thing that struck me is the bathtubs.
Yes. We have this idea that we should make this a kind of a fairly sexy kind of space, a bit celebratory. So we have two bathtubs, big cast iron tubs in the middle of the room. And people who come here, it's really about, this sort of spaces are not about saying that it's the most practical or the most thing. It's really about how you imagine you might have as a fantasy holiday, you can.
ต่อมาคือห้อง Oriental Girls Go West ออกแบบโดยศิลปินจัสตินลีซึ่งผสมผสานระหว่างวัฒนธรรมตะวันออกกับตะวันตกผ่านงานศิลปะได้อย่างมีอารมณ์ขันค่ะ
We're in another room, and the structure, especially the ceiling, this is again the original state, yeah? So there's nothing much that you can shift around.
No, I mean the buildings where the floor plates are, the floor to ceiling heights, all these are fixed because of the original state of the building. So when you have to run mechanical and electrical services through, you have to run through the corridors. In a way, sometimes with these old buildings, you do get a little bit of compromise in how the spaces work. But at the same time, you get this unique feeling, I guess.
So this space here, was it also a corridor in the beginning?
No, this would have been the original airwell of the building. So you can see daylight here and it goes all the way to that side. So each of these we carved out into a little garden. This is one of the smaller ones. But the others have quite a nice generous space at the outside.
Nice idea.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
How important do you think is conservation to Singapore as a country to conserve its history?
I think it's very important because everyone when they come to Singapore they see all these tall buildings, everything maybe is less than 20 years old, So I think the pockets of Singapore where we have a lot of old buildings, a lot of these sort of heritage type buildings, I think it's very important that we preserve them well so that future generations can really kind of see what Singapore was like, in their great-grandparents' day, Because otherwise, my children growing up, they may never realize what old Singapore was like.
จริงอยู่ที่การนำตึกเก่ามาดัดแปลงอาจจะต้องใช้การวางแผนและการออกแบบอย่างมากแต่ถ้าเกิดว่าทำได้ดีสิ่งที่จะได้ก็คือความสวยงามมีเสน่ห์และพิเศษเฉพาะตัวค่ะพบกันใหม่สัปดาห์หน้าวันนี้สวัสดีค่ะ